Hey, good morning, spiritual prospectors. How are you this morning or this afternoon or this evening, wherever you may be at in this beautiful planet? This is Marc the Intuitive Prospector, here for another Monday version of Metaphysical Mocha Mondays with your host, Marc the Intuitive Prospector. Give it just a few seconds here to get the live feed rolling out. Thank you for joining me. I hope that you had a fantastic weekend. I know that I did. I'm here in Seattle, Washington. The weather was great. And we're on a long weekend. So for those of us here in the United States, it's going to be our Independence Weekend or 4th of July. Again, that's for the folks here in the United States. So thank you for joining me this morning. I've got my cup of tea as well. I've got my very cool Star Wars cup here. I'm going to play some music just to kind of get us going here. Got a few messages here for you this morning. A positive affirmation. This morning we're talking about spiritual ABCs, breathing, and spiritual balance, and what that entails when you start to set off on your spiritual journey, your spiritual path, if you will. So let me know where you're from, and go ahead and just post here in the comments. I see them as they go by. I'm not going to be answering questions directly here on this page. I will be answering questions over at 8:30 Pacific Time, 11:30 Eastern Time over on my Intuitive Prospector page, where you can actually have a direct Q&A with me based on today's topic of spiritual ABCs, balance, and breathing. So let me know if you're joining for the first time, where you're at in the world. I know that we get a global audience all around the world, and I just want to thank you for being here this morning and joining me here on Metaphysical Mocha Mondays. And we're here every Monday morning. Well, most Monday mornings, I guess. Just depends if I'm traveling or not. And we usually go live at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, and then I'm following it up with a Q&A after show directly with me. So it's your opportunity to ask me a question. It's my way of giving back and just talking with people that are like-minded, that are people that are in the Soul Tribe. And just good morning to all of you that are joining. We're getting more people to join in. That's awesome. And this morning, so let's just take a second. Let's get some deep breaths. Let's get into a place where we can receive the messages. Like I said, I'll have a positive affirmation for you. Here, I'll have some things to help you with your spiritual balance, things to help you with your spiritual breathing, some Zen topics to talk about. You can see in the description field, if you like the videos that I'm doing here on the Om Times Magazine platform, please subscribe to the button. There should be a little subscribe button right in this little corner, left-hand corner, and you can subscribe. So every time I go live on Monday mornings, you can catch that inspirational, metaphysical topic for that week, including a positive affirmation. I went into meditation this morning just to think about some messages that I can give you for the week ahead. Mondays seems to be everybody's least favorite day because a lot of us are, wherever you're around the world, are coming back from a few days off. For some you work on the weekend, so maybe this is your day off. But I just found that Mondays are usually not a very popular day, so that's why I thought I would do this show on Monday mornings. So grab your coffee, grab your tea. Let's go do some spiritual prospecting. And I just thank you for being here this morning. So take a deep breath. I want to talk about spiritual balance and spiritual breathing, because those are important to help you with your journey as you are either beginning on your journey or you just settling in and getting comfortable with your journey. There are stages of your spiritual path, your spiritual journey. I know it took me, I've been on this spiritual journey for about 12 years now, I guess. And it took a few years for me just to get comfortable with, just everything that I was going through. I had a lot of tragedies, transformations, a shaking that caused an awakening, and then I kind of settled into my spiritual path. And now I'm doing more teaching, and I'm doing more workshops and public demonstrations all around the world. But it took me years to get here. So I want you to be patient with yourself. Going to give you some encouragement as well, some things to look for. The nature world as well. I'm a big fan of nature. And nature can be our greatest teacher. But this morning, finding some spiritual balance is a big part of doing this. If you find yourself too much in the physical world, you'll get caught up in stress and worry and be all in the mental aspect or your ego body. When you start to find balance between the two, you want to start to become the observer as well. And I'll talk about that here in just a second. But just be an observer of the things without getting caught up into all of the physical drama that surrounds us. And we're the only species that creates our own drama, our own fear. We're the only species that pays to live here. So it makes sense that we have a lot of drama around us. And when you become, spiritually balanced, you find yourself that you pick and choose your battles, I guess. You pick and choose based on what you want to have impact your life, and then everything else is just kind of pushing that away and being the observer of it without judgment or opinion, and just seeing how that resonates with you, see where that hits you in your body. And I just taught a class over on the Om Times Institute learning platform, Learn It Live. I teach a lot of classes over there, a lot of great teachers, everything from meditation, metaphysics, mediumship, mindfulness. And this last class I taught was Spiritual ABCs Level 2 that focused in on balance and breathing in the spiritual world. There is a discount code, so if you click on the description field, you can get to the classes there. There is a discount code for the first 5 spiritual prospectors that do sign up for that class. That code is good until the end of July. I guess we're in July now. And that code is good for the first 5 prospectors that want to go prospecting and watch the recorded version. I already did the live version last week, and you can take advantage of that discount code till the end of July. So go check that out. And there's also a Spiritual ABCs course, Level 1, that focuses in on attunement and awareness. And you can watch these classes on demand anytime. I will be teaching another class in August for Spiritual ABCs Level 3 that will focus in on the conscious mind and connecting to the spiritual world, whether that is in mediumship, connecting to just guidance for yourself, your spirit guides, if you want to connect with those on the other side. A lot of the work that I have done, and I will be teaching that at the end of August as well. So if you want to find out any of the work that I'm doing here in the Seattle Pacific Northwest area, please visit marclanehart.com. You can internet search the Intuitive Prospector. You can also find me here on the Om Times Magazine and Om Times Institute learning platforms, where I teach and contribute as a freelance writer for the magazine, and also the Facebook Live. You can also find me at Best American Psychics, Best Psychic Directory, and FamousPsychicMediums.com. So I do want to put in a link for you if you are interested in having a direct Q&A with me. I'm going to post that in the page right now for you to ask questions, because I'm not taking your questions right now. I'm actually just giving you the topic. Let me see if that pasted in. It should have pasted in for you right there. And after this show is over at 8:30 Pacific time or 11:30 Eastern, wherever you're at in the world, head on over to the Prospector page, Intuitive Prospector, like the page, follow the page, and then I'll switch over and be taking direct Q&A with you on today's topic, spiritual balance and breathing. So today's positive affirmation, I think it's important to have weekly affirmations, daily affirmations, and I kind of, through my meditation, there's a lot of you that are watching this from around the world as part of the spiritual community, part of the soul tribe, as spiritual prospector, looking for your own spiritual gold. Today's positive affirmation is I can tap into a wellspring of inner happiness anytime that I wish. So when you have that mindset, when you're trying to find your spiritual balance, happiness comes from within. I found this to be true in my own journey, not the external world. You're not going to find it in relationships. You'll find comfort and you'll find happiness in that relationship, but at the end of the day, the true happiness comes from within. So again, the weekly affirmation to help you get through the week until we meet up next Monday is I can tap into a wellspring of inner happiness anytime I wish. So I hope that you'll say that morning, noon, and night. I have my positive affirmations that I say. I have a positive affirmation. I may actually use that one. I like that one for the radio show. We have a radio show over on the internet, Inspired Living Radio, and that's every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. It is a live internet radio show where we have amazing guests and amazing topics, fascinating topics. I'm always learning something doing radio. I love doing radio. So you can head over, no username, no password. You can catch us on demand on iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, Podbean, all the outlets. And we're going to be coming up on our 100th episode here in August. So I'm excited for that. But we use a positive affirmation to talk about that. Now, I know some of you that are watching the video have made mention. I am still trying to figure out how to get closed captioning to my video, so I apologize if you cannot hear me. But I am mindful of it. I am working on that, maybe going through YouTube at a later date. So, spiritual balance. What can you do for spiritual balance? First thing I want to give you is 5 things to never feel guilty of when you're on your spiritual journey, when you're on your spiritual path, and having a balance for what it is that you're doing. Never feel guilty for changing for the better. I'm a big believer, and I've seen it with my own path, my own experiences, my own transformation. Once your growth stops, decay begins. So that's something I always remind myself. I'm always moving forward. I'm always trying to stay positive, because the world, trust me guys, can get you down. There can be a lot of moving parts coming at you, a lot of negative people. Misery does love company, and I try to rise above that. I try to be the foam that rises up, out of the cream, I guess. And changing for the better is something you should never feel guilty of. Knowing your worth. I think it's important to know your worth. Where you're going, where you've come from, and again, not holding on to the past as a life sentence for what you didn't accomplish. I don't believe in failure. I believe that we are either learning, moving forward, or winning. So holding on to your past as a life sentence is something that you need to let go of. The old saying, hold on and get dragged, or let go and be free. And, know your inner worth. Know what you're giving to your family, your friends, your community, this world. And again, the change you want to be starts with you if you want to see the change vibration that happens out in the rest of the world. So know your worth as part of your spiritual balance. Moving on. This is important. Moving on is, a lot of people stay stationary, and I always try to give the visualization of water. If water stays stationary, and again, life is always changing. Life is always flowing. It's a very fluid type of energy. Everything is energy when you look, when you're like me and you look at things in energy, frequency, and vibration. I think of it as water that is always flowing. Once water stops, and if you think about a river, and it pools and it no longer flows to a source, it never connects to something bigger than itself, it starts to change color. It starts to attract different things, mosquitoes, bugs. It starts to maybe get a smell about it. So I always, for my visualization, I always think about the river moving forward as part of my spiritual balance. And there's things that I can't change. That's ego wanting to kick in. But I always try to move on. I'm always trying to move forward and move on. And again, not taking my past and carrying it as a life sentence for me, because we have all made, our own judgments and errors from our past experiences. But again, not looking at it in a way of, failure or errors, but in a way of, I learned something from that. I experienced that. And that's why I'm here, is to grow and to learn. So I like to say that life is an acronym. Learn it from experience. That's why you're here. And moving on and moving forward for what you want your future to be, but being in the now, the power of presence. Eckhart Tolle talks about the power of presence portals, of being in your present moment, because that's where the true happiness and the true seeds that you plant for the future take place. So moving on, another thing that you should never feel guilty of in your spiritual balance is protecting your peace. What are you at peace with? And please put your comments in below. After I'm done with the video, I'm heading over to the Intuitive Prospector page here on Facebook Live to do a Q&A, so you can ask me a question directly over there. But I will come back to this live feed and answer your questions as well. So let me know where you're from. Just the only thing I ask is you either have a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, a cup of water, and that you're just hanging out with me, having a metaphysical conversation on Mondays, having some guidance, some inspiration, some spiritual prospecting for spiritual gold is what I like to say, because that is, I am the Intuitive Prospector. My goal is to help you find that spiritual gold. Not my opinions, just my experiences, and hopefully we can work together to find that. So protecting your peace. What is it that's important to you in your journey, in your spiritual path? Who comes into your life? What comes into your life? What are the external things that you are watching or taking into your system, whether it's food, media, television shows, magazines? Pay attention to that, because that is part of protecting your peace and being mindful and setting your boundaries and what is important for you. You don't want to read that garbage. Like, I don't read a lot of the magazines that have gossip about somebody else. I really don't have really a care in that, and I don't have time for it. Again, my greatest commodity is my time and what I do with my time. So I'm very mindful of protecting my peace, who I engage with, who I interact with. I think that's very, very important. And so one of the things you should never feel guilty of as far as your spiritual balance is protecting your peace. I think the last thing that you should never feel guilty of is staying true to your vision, who you are. It's okay to feel uncomfortable, and I just had this experience this last week, talking about protecting my peace. But having that vision and staying true to that vision, staying true to your integrity, to your morals and your ethics is always so very vitally important. And you will have times of uncomfortability based on external situations, based on people, based on comments, based on social media, but staying true and working past that. And that's part of tying to the moving on as well. When you're true to your vision, and spiritual balance is staying within that vision and picking a time that is beneficial to tap into the energy of your vision, your manifestation, what you're going after. That's why I do morning meditations. I think that's very, very important. But staying true to who you are, staying true to your vision, I think are very important. So changing for the better, knowing your worth, moving on, protecting your peace, staying true to your vision are all 5 things that you should really not feel guilty for or feel guilty of. So some of the mindful living tools that I have incorporated into my practice, some of my teaching, some of my workshops that I teach on the Om Times Institute and Learn It Live is just being mindful of where I'm going. And, I think that a mindful life is definitely worth the effort. I believe it's a life where we awaken from the dream state that we're most often submerged in. I always think of the movie The Matrix. It's that state of having your mind anywhere but the present moment. And, locked in thoughts about what you're going to do later, about something someone else either said or did, about something that you're stressing about or angry about, usually your past, holding on to that life sentence that I talked about. The state of mind is where we're lost in our smartphones, where we're lost in social media, if you will. And, part of having a mindful path is just really being in the present moment and being mindful. That's a balance. That's a spiritual balance that I always talk about. And, not always sharing everything that I do. That's not necessarily important. But just, being mindful. Couple things to pay attention to, some of the Zen things that I find that are very beneficial to me in my path, and I'm just sharing this with you on Metaphysical Mocha Mondays, is to do one thing at a time. Some of the Zen practices of being in spiritual balance is to do one thing at a time, and what you can do is you can start to incorporate spiritual breathing. Breathing in and being mindful of the breath that you're taking in, because there's a lot of energy, a lot of prana energy that can come into the system if you're mindful of that. So doing one thing at a time. I try to do things slowly and deliberately. I find that we're very fast-paced now. We're moving very fast-paced as a species, as a society, as a culture. Everything seems to be of fast, speed. Time is of the essence, I guess. So I actually kind of do the opposite for my spiritual balance, is I do it slowly and I do it deliberately. I try to do it completely, and I don't get to accomplish everything, but I do try to do it all the way through from start to finish, whether it's a house project, a work project, an article that I'm writing, a reading that I'm giving, and I can accomplish that by doing less. So there is a lot of truth in less is more. So I actually, in some of my Zen practices, some of my mindful living is to do less. I like to put space between things. So if you have a calendar, like I can book out a month in advance, I will actually take a weekend where it's dedicated to doing nothing. Maybe it's a hike, getting out in nature, sitting by a river, reading a book, just sitting at home watching TV, and finding that physical balance compared to that spiritual balance as well. And incorporate spiritual breathing where you're actually focused in on bringing good, deep, cleansing, healing breaths into your system, and being mindful of that. So again, we're talking about spiritual ABCs, some of the things that I've learned in my spiritual path. This was a class that I taught last month, level 2, about breathing and spiritual balance, and we did some exercises, gave you some examples. You can check that class out over on the Learn It Live platform. Still register for it. Get 10% off the class using the code in the description field in this video till the end of July, I think July 29th, and then I'll be teaching level 3 in August, at the end of August, which will be focused in on consciousness and connectivity to something bigger than yourself. So another thing that I like to do for spiritual balance that I'll share with you, just kind of keep an eye on the time here, because I'm going to be switching over to the Intuitive Prospector page for a live after show Q&A with me. The link is in the comment section, so just scroll through and get the Intuitive Prospector page. Switch over at 8:30 and join me for a conversation where I will directly interact with you, because we have so many people watching worldwide that it got to the point where there's so many comments scrolling, I couldn't keep up with everybody. And I appreciate the love. I appreciate the soul community, the soul tribe, you guys being here and just participating with me in life and going prospecting for what is important to you and finding that spiritual gold. So I like to develop rituals, because we are creatures of habit. And they find that if you stick to something at least 20 days, 20 to 30 days, studies show that at first it's hard, it might be frustrating, but then you start to get into your habits. And so I've actually made part of my rituals, which is morning qigong, meditation, sitting just in silence, being aware of my environment. I try to make these all rituals every day that I'm here, because I really have learned that no better time than the present moment, because there is no guarantees for tomorrow. And I've seen this firsthand, both professionally and personally. I've seen a lot of people pass into the spiritual world, family and friends, and people I didn't know, just from my background in the Coast Guard and fire service. So I understand that the present moment is very, very important. And developing the rituals helps me to be in the present moment and have that attitude for gratitude of being in the present moment, because that's where the power is. Not in the past, not in the future, right here, right now, because that's all you have. So I like to designate time for certain things, like Metaphysical Mocha Mondays with Marc. I dedicate this time at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, here on Facebook Live, something I've been doing for about 8 months now, to sit and have a conversation with you, give you a positive affirmation, give you some guidance, and then do a Q&A after show with you. That's something that I've designated my time to interact with people all around the world and be part of that spiritual community, soul tribe. I have a dedicated radio show every Wisdom Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, Inspired Living Radio. And our tagline is, you are the inspired and the inspiration. And that is to get you on a path of being inspired with amazing topics, fantastic guests, ranges from metaphysics, mindfulness, meditation, medicine, psychic, just open phone lines where we take your calls and answer your questions. So I designate certain things to giving back and changing things within me, so I can go out and make a change for the better, even if it's one person at a time. I devote time to sitting and just being aware of my surroundings, and I teach on that, about attunement and awareness. I like to actually go out. I ride the bus and everybody's in their smartphones. So when I make eye contact with somebody, I actually smile at them and see if I get a receptive smile back. And most times I do. Some people don't. They're in their path. They're miserable. They're not happy. I get it. But I can make that person happy just by smiling at them and being in service to others. I try to find different things that I can focus in on meditation. Meditation doesn't have to be just sitting in silence. It can actually be cooking. It can be gardening. It can be cleaning. Sometimes I do cleaning before reading just to help clear my mind, so I'm in tune and aware of the spiritual world and the messages that I'm about to give. I think about what is necessary in life. Is this necessary for my spiritual path? Spiritual balance is defining what it is, and only you can answer this. I can't answer this for you, but I always think about, is that really necessary for my path? Is that necessary for my life? Is that going to, if I bring that energy in, is that going to disrupt my peace? And I'm all about protecting my peace and moving forward. And then, last but not least, for your spiritual path, live simply. It's important. Simple living, doing less can help you with your spiritual balance, your spiritual journey, spiritual breathing all along the way. Don't forget to breathe. I know I've been talking almost for a half hour now, and I'm reminding you to breathe. It's an unconscious activity, but when you focus and put consciousness into your breathing, in through your nose, out, you can actually reduce stress, anxiety, worry, go within, get control of some of the thoughts in your head, and become the observer of your body, your thoughts, and your external world. So I do want to leave you with, again, the positive affirmation for this week. I just had it. If I can find it. I wrote it down in my notes here. I got a lot of notes. What did I do with it? All right. I can tap into a wellspring of inner happiness anytime I wish. So start drilling into that wellspring of your happiness and where it's going to take you. I'm going to give you the hummingbird for this week. That means if you see the hummingbird and the hummingbird makes itself known, cheer up. The hummingbird makes you smile. I'm also going to give you the message about trusting your solar plexus chakra. So the solar plexus chakra it's located between the navel area and the rib cage, just below the rib cage. So it's just below, and it is the area that represents your power, your vitality, your willpower, your self-esteem, your confidence. It usually has a number 3 associated with it, which is about mind, body, and spirit. And it's really the energy center where your emotions and feelings are connected. Again, that's where your psychic antenna is. That's where your umbilical cord was connected to your mom and where you were able to be brought into life. So the solar plexus chakra is coming up. The number 99 in numerology came up for me this morning, and that's all about compassion. And when I see the number 99, it's all about the need for being kind and compassionate towards others. I love that because I always say be kind, caring, and compassionate, and especially those who extend beyond your family or circle of friends. So in numerology, the 99 represents compassion. So if you see the number 99 on your path, be compassionate. If you're feeling something in your solar plexus or see the number 3, that's just trusting your senses and trusting your gut, trusting your solar plexus. And if you see the hummingbird, cheer up. It's telling you that life is short. Put a smile on your face. Put a smile on somebody else's face. And last but not least, I'm going to give you the spiritual word of trust for having balance in breathing. Just know that the universe is always looking out for you. As long as you're putting in the work, it's going to meet you halfway. Trust the path that you're on, and know that it's the right path for you. So I just want to thank you for hanging out with me for this last half hour. I'm going to head over to the Intuitive Prospector page, get ready for the live Q&A. So head on over to the Intuitive Prospector page, follow the page, like the page, subscribe to this video, check out the classes I'm teaching over on the Om Times Institute Learn It Live platforms. The links are also in this page. You can visit my site at marclanehart.com. Schedule a reading with me, a workshop, get out if you're here in Seattle for a spiritual hike where we head to the mountains and have a lot of fun, a lot of spiritual prospecting. And again, just to recap, 5 things that you shouldn't be feeling guilty of: changing for the better, knowing your worth, moving on, protecting your peace, staying true to who you are, staying true to your vision. Find that balance, find that peace, find that passion, find that purpose, and I guarantee you things in your life will start to change. It all comes from within. The journey is within. So I hope that helped you today for spiritual ABCs, spiritual balance and breathing. And of course, don't forget to breathe all along the way. It's free. It can change your mindset. It can increase your energy levels. It can bring stress down. And it can be a really beneficial way to help you along on your spiritual path and your spiritual journey. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that you have a great week. Tap into happiness, and again, smile at a stranger. And I'll just leave you with some music. If I've got some music here, let's see. Let's get something fun. And again, I'm now heading over to the Intuitive Prospector page. So live in the moment. Be kind. Be caring. Be compassionate. I'll see you next Monday on Metaphysical Mocha Mondays with Marc. Namaste. And happy 4th of July to everybody here in the United States. Take care. Bye-bye.